Welcome to the Collide Kids podcast, hosted by Kristen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Collide Kids podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Clark. The Collide Kids podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. I am so glad that you're here listening today. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. If this is your first time listening, I just want to say welcome. I am really glad you're here. Be sure to listen to the end of every episode. That's where we have the kids only segment where kids just like you get to be on the podcast. Well, I am so excited about this month's guest list. You're going to be blown away by some of these amazing stories that I don't know if you've ever heard before. I know I haven't. And so I'm so excited to get to share these with you. If you want updates about these guests and all the fun things that are going on with the podcast, I would love for you to subscribe to my brand new monthly newsletter. You can find information about that on my website, collidekidspodcast.com. I'll give you fun tips and tricks and family content activities. I even have 10-minute dinners on this month's newsletter. So you definitely want to check that out if you're a busy family like me and you need some fun ideas for dinner. So be sure to head over to my website and subscribe to the new monthly newsletter, and I'll send that over to you right away. Well, I am so excited about our guest today. This was one of the coolest stories I've ever heard, and I'm so thrilled for anyone who likes to draw or anyone that loves Disney movies. Anyone out there a big Disney fan? I have so many movies that I love from my childhood and the ones that I've introduced to my kids. I cannot believe that I got to talk with someone who helped put together some of my most favorite movies. Let me introduce you today to Davy Liu. He identifies himself as a Chinese Forrest Gump. He struggled with making straight A's, but later found his life calling in making straight lines. His artistic talent quickly led him to work for Walt Disney on classic films such as Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, Mulan, and Star Wars. Davy is the founder of Kendu Kids. He is an innovative creator who brings stories of faith and hope to the world to inspire individuals, families, and businesses. You guys are going to love this conversation with my friend, Davy Liu. Well, Davy, I am really excited to have you on the Collide Kids podcast today.
I'm excited just as much as you.
This is so fun. Okay, I'm a huge fan, so I know we're going to get into all the story of what you're going to talk about today, but will you just introduce yourself first for our listeners? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Davy Liu. I am 100% purebred Chinese, but I have straight F growing up instead of straight A like all them Chinese kids. But God gave me a gift to draw straight lines. So I'm an artist and I'm an animator for Disney on Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Mulan, and The Lion King, and Star Wars,
Wow.
which I think kids probably don't see that show because that's not cartoon.
Oh, I know a lot of Star Wars fans that are kids, so I think that's amazing. Some of my favorite Disney movies, and you were a part of that. That is so cool. Now, do you still do that? Are you still an animator?
Yes, I'm still an animator. About 23 years ago, I started my animation studio. It's called Kendu Films. Kendu spelled Kendu. Kendu come from you can do all things through Christ.
I love that. Oh, that's so fun. Okay, I'm excited to talk to you about this because I think this is so interesting and all the kids are really excited to hear about an artist and an animator. But before we do that, because this is a show for kids, I always make my guests tell me a joke. So do you have a joke for us today?
Okay, so the joke is on me. When I came to America, I couldn't understand the English, not a word of English. So my mom told me to say yes to everything American kids ask me. So first word they ask me, they think we are all Chinese. They all look the same. So they think we're related to Bruce Lee. So the kids ask me, do you know Bruce Lee? I listened to my mom because I couldn't understand what they were saying. So I say yes. Then they ask me, do you know karate? Do you know kung fu? I say yes. What color is your belt? I look down. Every Taiwanese boys only wear black leather belts to school. So I say, I have black belt. Then they ask me, how many degrees your black belt? And I counted how many holes is punched on my black belt. So I told him I have 7-degree black belt. So ever since then, my first nickname in America is Bruce Lee.
Oh, no. Oh, that's a bummer that those are the typical questions they always ask you, but your mom said to say yes. So I think
That's
if they
right.
heard that you had a black belt,
Yeah,
they would be a little bit nervous to be around you, right? That's a little intimidating. So
that's right.
that's amazing. Now, did you ever take up karate at some point in your
No,
life?
never did. In Taiwan, we're only excelled to study, become a doctor or engineer. You can't be an artist, musician, or Bruce Lee.
Oh, bummer. Well, you blew up that stereotype for sure because you are an artist. And so tell us a little bit about your story. I'd love to hear about growing up, what that was like, and then how you got into becoming an animator.
I'm the youngest of 7. I grew up in a very successful bakery business in Taiwan. And so seeing my dad being so successful, my mom and dad thought I could make straight A just like my siblings. But I had a hard time learning growing up. I didn't do well in school, and I always draw pictures, and I would always get laughed at for drawings. So then my mom brought me to America, and then that's when I met my art teacher, and she gave me a piece of white paper, and she said, Davy, you can do it. She saw some of those chicken scratches I did on my dad's journal. So I drew a Chinese dragon. I didn't think much of it. And then this artwork became a huge sensation. The creativity of this dragon. I used American building to form a Chinese dragon. And it won top 20. And then I got all this notoriety. And then I realized that my dad told me as a kid, says, you can do all things through Christ. I didn't understand what that means until now. Now I finally realized that, wow, so God didn't make me to be a hardworking bee, piano player. My mom had me play piano like all the Chinese parents. I played 8 years. I couldn't play still today. And then I realized God made me a firefly. So I use that as a metaphor to let children know that God created us to be unique and one of a kind. He didn't create all of us to be number one, but to be only one. So I studied art in college. I knew many people said if you can't get a job being an artist, but I trusted that if God made me a firefly, he gave me a purpose. And I always remember that verse, I can do all things through Christ. And then during college years, a company called Walt Disney came to our school and recruit 8 kids out of the entire world. And because I work hard as a firefly, I use my art and I work hard at it. And I got into Disney in 1990. And that's when my dream began to come true, that I was able to become an artist as my dream job and working at Disney.
That's amazing. I love that. And so out of all the people in the world, they chose 8 kids and you were one of those kids. What was
Yeah.
it? What was it that made your artwork special that you think you got that job?
I was drawing like those Italian masters like Michelangelo's, and that's what most children in art school, unfortunately, are not learning today. They are learning computer programs, and they're not drawings like an old master, like those Italian Renaissance artists.
Okay. And so you're paying attention to detail and all these different things. And they were like, we need you to draw something for the Lion King.
No, not quite that.
And so you got hired by Disney. What was the first project you worked on for Disney?
I worked on Rescue Down Under. That was my first film, and then Beauty and the Beast, and then Aladdin, and then Lion King, and then Mulan. And if you guys seen some of the Mulan projects, I got to draw myself as Mulan's general, General Shin. So I kind of turned myself into this general character, and I got to put my mark in Disney's character animated films.
That's so cool. I love that. And that's one of my favorite songs when General
Now
Chin
let's
sings.
get down to
Yes.
business. All right.
In fact, my brother taught my daughter when she was very little to sing, I'll make a man out of
All
you.
right.
And she would sing that.
You are a fan.
Yeah, we're big fans. I love that. That's really cool that you got to draw yourself into that movie. That's awesome.
Every Disney's animator's dream is to put themselves in the movies. So
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. So tell me some things that you loved about working as an animator. What are some things that you loved about working at Disney?
I get to have white paper every day. They gave me thousands of it, and I get to draw 24 frames per second for kids. But it drove me nuts. I love drawings, but I don't love it that much that 1 second it's 24 drawings.
Wow.
So I beginning to move to different department. I love drawing so much. I think it's more fun to create stories. So I became a project development at Disney in 1998 for a movie called Atlantis.
Ooh.
Probably not many people know this film. So I really love the freedom of Disney that you get to create. You get to do something you love and you still are able to make a living.
That's really cool. You just get all the paper. But so you figured out like I'm more into like creating stories and things like that. And then you ended up leaving Disney. So tell us that story. What happened there?
Well, every time I go to church, all I see is every kid is wearing cucumber and tomatoes. And I figure, God is worthy more than tomato and cucumber. I want something more meaty and more protein.
Protein.
So every time I go somewhere, everybody tell me to sign autograph the Lion King. And I thought, what if I do animated films for the King of Kings beyond the Lion Kings? So 1998, after I left Disney, went to work for George on Star Wars. In that 2 years, God gave me this wonderful revelations. Davy, yes, you can do it. But I give God thousands of reasons why I can't do it. But then God showed me that there's nothing's impossible. So the verses in Philippians chapter 1, verse 1, it says that it is God whose will, and he is the one who works in you, and everything he does is to fulfill the God's will in our lives. And when I think about that, I say, wait a minute, it's not me. It is God who's giving me this gift and desire. But if he's calling me to do this, it is an honor. And I didn't want to just win an Oscar when I go to heaven. I want to win children's for Christ. So when I was 30 years old, I decided to leave Disney and left George Lucas. And I decided to start my film company called Kendu Films, just to honor my dad that I can do all things through Christ. And I want to do an animated film beyond Disney.
I love that. And so you've created this studio. How many things have you created from Kendu? What does Kendu's project list look
So
like?
Kendu's first project is called The Giant Leap. This is an animated film that I developed it when I was in Major Studio and Warner Brothers. And this is Kendu main character. He's a fox. He had a dream of the giant leaf. And where he is in the giant leaf, he's free and happy. But in his real world, he was in the world of the dinosaur. The dinosaur didn't believe in no dream of giant leaf. They don't believe in no flood. They just think that if animal leave them, the little creature, the little fox Kendu is going to be eaten by the animal eaters. So Kendu took a giant leap of faith and he left the dinosaurs and he went to pursue his giant leaf dream. So this is our first animated film that's going to be epic 3D, looks just like Disney Pixar film, coming out 2 years. And this is animal perspective, Noah's Ark. So we're going to be doing a whole slate of story of the Bible, fish perspective of Moses parting the Red Sea called Firefish.
Oh,
And then we
yeah.
have a film called Jordan's Guest, which is donkeys. His name is Jordan. Jordan's Guest is Jesus. But before he had Jesus written on him, always there's no one look up to him to want to be his guest. Only guest he has was this two little dirty pigs. The siblings' name, sister's name Jen, and brother's name's Tile. So his only friend was Gentiles. So we have a whole slate of animated
I
films
love that.
that's going to be from Book of Revelations for 12 animated film in the next 12 years in the main theaters that every family will enjoy something that's wholesome, something that's biblical, and something that is not churchy. My thing is I want to stay away from this churchy. Kids knows churchy. So these are in beautiful books right now you can get on kendukids.org. And these books, when I was book signing in Barnes Noble, and I noticed an 8-year-old kid came up to me and says, Uncle Davy, thank you for not making your book look like a Christian book. That was the biggest honor that I ever had 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Even kids knows when we're trying to make things look churchy and cheesy. I worked at Disney, and that's something that hurts me. When I ever try to see something that's children's ministry that wants to bring children to Christ, it breaks my heart to see the artistry is so poor. So that's my passion. It's really just elevate the biblical gospel and present it to them through animated film with excellence.
I love that. And I think that's so true that sometimes some of the entertainment and media that we get out from Christian publishers and different things can sometimes be a little cheesy. And so I think that's smart that you are creating something. And I love this idea of it being from the animal's perspective. So it's it's a twist on those biblical stories that we're all familiar with, but we can learn a little something new because we're seeing it from a different perspective. Why did you choose the animal's perspective?
Well, when I worked on The Lion King, originally The Lion King, our Lion King actually is a recipe of story of Moses. The story of the Bible, when you hidden manna, just like the story of Jesus preached in the parables, all those parables are equally beautiful and theologically sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw what Disney did, how well they tell stories of the story of Moses from the lions, and the whole thing, as you see, is a story of Moses, how powerful that is. And I saw the metaphor that the Bible can be told, that,
Mm-hmm.
if we can tell the whole biblical event in allegory form and then use this story to draw children's, to plant story and pictures in their heart when they're a child. And that's what I learned in Disney, is that the magic of storytelling, right? It's not so
Yeah.
direct, but it's really, really creative, that you implanted this visual. The giant leaf is a symbol of Christ. So it is powerful. Children learn visually. They don't learn like us. I mean, imagine the Bible. You open it up, there's no pictures, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then even the pastor had to go to seminary. I mean, how deep is that? But when Jesus said, "Let the children come to me and do not hinder them," even all the 57 parable that Jesus shared, they were all allegory of the kingdom of God. But all
Right.
those stories are easy understood for the children's.
We'll be right back after this. You know, raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app. Yes, that's true. Okay, wait, we need to back up for a minute. You're right. The Lion King is the story of Moses. Is that really the story they based it off?
That's one of the major influence.
Okay, my mind's a little blown too, because I'm thinking about all of the things in The Lion King that really does relate to the story of Moses, even from when. Okay, so one of my favorite parts in all of Lion King, truly, and even if you go to Walt Disney World or to Disneyland, in the fireworks display, they do this big part about Mufasa saying, "Remember who you are." And
That's
every
right.
time, even me saying that, I get goosebumps, because I think that's something that's so clear from God, that we need to remember who we are. We are a
That's right.
child of the King, and we need to live in such a way that we
Yep.
represent God as our King. And so anyway, but I'd never thought about that being the story of Moses, and that lining up with that. So that's incredible. I love that little insight to that. That's so cool. And I think that's true, that a lot of times we don't get to see this perspective of the animal. But if you look in the Bible, there are quite a few stories of animals in the Bible.
100%.
Very clear.
100%. Yeah. Especially in the part of the Old Testament, when the Christian publishers, they don't like talking animals. I love God's sense of humor. There's a talking donkey, right?
Yes.
So
And I do know that in Shrek, the talking donkey is Balaam's donkey. If you look it
Yeah.
up, that's where that
Yeah.
story came from. So if only DreamWorks would know that that's actually a true story and not a fable or a fairy tale, as they like to think. But anyway, so tell us more about your process as an animator. If you're going to create a book or a new movie coming out, what is the process? How do you get started? How do you choose the story you want to create?
Obviously, it's the most well-known story for us. When we're in Disney, we were always looking for the most well-known novels or the bestseller, and so on and so on. And so for me, here I am. I have ADD and HDD and DVD. When I read the Bible, I see pictures. I don't read Bible like everybody else read Bible. When I read Bibles, I go off on this la la land, and I have this wonderful imaginations when I see these group of fish and they're traveling through the Red Sea, and then they're calling to the fin makers for help because they're being chased by the great white, and a little fish named Sesame, flip it backwards, is Moses. "Dear fin maker," Sesame says, "would you please put good fish on one side and bad fish on the other?" Instantly, the water parted in two. And here I am, I visualize fish perspective of Moses parting the Red Sea. I just don't see the story of Moses like every adults, okay? I think children don't think that way. So as a creator in Disney or Warner Brothers or for Lucasfilm, we have to recognize what's it like to be a child. And I always thought about what Jesus says, unless you become a little child, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. I thought about how innocent, and also that that natural creative energy that all of us have. So I have this creativity workshop that I do when I go to homeschool conferences. I use one of my creativity workshop is how to turn your parents into an animated animal talking characters, and likewise vice versa. So the reason I do that is I always see adults struggle. Kids don't struggle, but adults struggles. What happened to adults? They become old and boring, and you want to stay away from that. So
Right.
I'm 55 and I'm acting more like an 8-year-old, but my daughter's 27. She's more like a 72. So it's very sad when I see my daughter start growing and her creativity and her imaginations, her Peter Pan energy just disappear when she's become a mother. I'm a grandpa now. So now I'm looking at my
Yes.
grandson and I just treasure. I go back to that's the source of ultimate energy that we all try to captivate. When we're up in the Disney development, we want to remember if I was an 8-year-old, how do I view these projects? Are they fun or exciting? Are you trying to preach to me, or are you trying to give me an experience of something that is joyful and that I can learn and retain it in my soul?
Oh, that's so good. I love that. And I love that you're trying to help your daughter and your grandchildren to be creative and embrace that. What did you say? That Peter Pan mentality,
That's
right?
right.
Just to have a good time and
Yeah.
not to lose that. That's so true. Well, what is something that you would encourage? I'm thinking about the kids that are listening right now that are just like you. They love to draw, they love to doodle, they love to do artwork projects and creative things. What would you say to those kids right now? What would be your encouragement for them?
I say, whoever is listening here, don't let anybody tell you you can't. Okay.
Mm.
So my art teacher, when I was 13, she gave me a piece of white paper. I never found myself in a test paper. She gave me that white piece of paper. It was one sheet of paper changed my life, and I got to discover who I am. So if you have a dream about pursuing doing something you love, start with one piece of paper and start planning, and find a friend that has the same dream as you, that maybe you guys could work together. So start from I can do it to we can do it. So when I left Disney, first thing I need to do is to create my missions of the giant leap and the firefighters. I got to make them into a beautiful book, because no one wants to read a really crazy script that is 90 seconds and 100 some pages. So I made it into a book. But Davy Liu doesn't know how to write. Davy Liu, his English is F. His Chinese is F. What do I do? Well, it didn't stop me. So I produced these one book. I asked people for help. I pay some people, ask for some writer to help my grammar. My daughter helped me with my grammar. So I produced the first book. Now I've written 6 books. And these books are celebrated in China. There's a story, their story of the Bible. And these books have won the best children's moral awards in the nations of China.
Wow.
So I want to encourage you. There's nothing's impossible with God. If you know that your life, you are born again in Jesus Christ, you are filled with the power of God. It's called Holy Spirit. And he lives in you and he dwells in you. And he is going to use you when you just surrender and say, God, I know I can't do it, but with you, I can do it. So if you have this creative genius idea that it's inside your heart, begin with one sheet of paper. Start something by drawing.
What great encouragement. And I think that's great encouragement for not just the kids listening, but also for parents. If you have a dream, if you have an idea, don't let that hold you back. Just start with one piece of paper
Yeah.
and trust that God is going to lead you and guide you. If he's put that inside you, there's a reason for that. So I believe that. I'm so glad you shared that. Thank you so much, Davy. Thank you for being on our show today. Tell our listeners where they can find out more about Kendu and all the great books that you have right now.
Yeah, I have this beautiful picture books. They come in a new set. We just came out with a new set. There's 6 of them in this beautiful carton, a collector's box. You can find them at kendukids.org, KENDU kids.org. On there, you can find all the events that I'll be going this year, and also all the workshop that I'll be hosting in all these events. We are doing the biggest homeschool convention. Kendu Kids is running Teach Them Diligently in first week of May and also middle of May. You can go to our events. You may come and join the Giant Leap VBS Adventures, Teach Them Diligently homeschool convention in Pigeon Forge and Branson.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. Before I let you go, I always ask my guests to tell me a memory from when they were a kid. So what memory do you want to share with us today?
Okay, kids, you can't laugh at me. I'm going to tell you something that's really funny. My mommy think it's not funny. So when I came to America, I remember I always listened to my mommy because my English, I barely memorized my alphabet. So the principal told me that, Davy, in America, we play PE, so you have to bring your PE shorts. So I don't recall I have a PE shorts. So in Taiwan, we don't play sports. So I have 5 older sisters. So once a year, we might have a field day or track day. So guess what? I would wear my sister's pink underwear. And that was my PE shorts from 1st grade to 6th grade. That's what happened when you're the youngest of siblings and your mom is frugal. So that's my joke of the day.
Oh, no. And you did that from 1st grade to 6th grade?
Yes, ma'am. I wear pink, beautiful PE shorts in Taiwan. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
No.
And then, so my mom ended up in this school I was going to in Orlando. So my mom went to buy one, get one free in Kmart. And then I found out it didn't fit me. It says one size fits all. I have to hold it with my both hands coming out of the basketball courts. And so the more of issue for me is I never listened to my mom for any fashion statement. So I have to hold this boxers, both hands. And then the inspirational came to me. I came out to the basketball court because I didn't want to let down Bruce Lee. So I pulled those boxers up to my chest and boy, nice and snug. But before I walked out 2 steps, man, all the student came over and laughed at my shorts. And they couldn't believe Davy Liu was wearing the American extra large boxer shorts. So that was my experience of 2 traumatized PE shorts growing up in Taiwan and coming to America.
Oh, no. That's awful. I'm so sorry. But I'm sure that was a fun sight. Now you can laugh about it, right?
Yeah, I can laugh about it.
That's
Absolutely.
good. Well, thank you again so much for being on the show today. This was so great meeting you, and I love
Thank you,
learning
Kristen.
about all the things that you do. So thank you.
You bet. All right, kids, remember, you can do it.
Wasn't that amazing? I love that he named his company Kendu Kids, and it's after the verse that says, I can do all things through Christ. That was his motto for sure. One of my favorite stories that he told today was that in helping put together Mulan, he got to draw himself into the movie, which he says is every Disney animator's dream, to put yourself in the movie. So he became General Shin, and he became the one that got to sing that famous song, I'll make a man out of you. That's so fun. I love that. Now, whenever I watch this movie, I'm going to be looking for Davy Liu. I love when he was sharing about his favorite passage in Philippians chapter 1, where it talks about how God's will and how he works in us to fulfill his will in our lives. God has given us a gift and a desire. And Davy said it's his honor to be called by God to do something more than just gain worldly awards and treasures. He wants so much to follow God's calling for his life. I am so excited about these books that Davy Liu has put together so that later they can become movies. Like the one about the fish that experiences the parting of the Red Sea by Moses, and Jordan's Guest about the donkey that carried Jesus through the triumphal entry. These books are something that Davy wants to someday make into movies, and I cannot wait to see these. And the best advice he gave us for anyone of any age is don't let anyone tell you that you can't. Just surrender and allow God to work through you and do the thing, whatever it is you're passionate about, and he will work all things out for you. Such good advice. Well, if you'd like to learn more about these books that are going to become movies in the next couple years, then you definitely want to head over to kendukids.org. That's spelled Kendu kids, kids.org. You definitely want to check out all of his books and resources and lots of fun content about the movies that are coming up very soon. Well, now it's time for the kids only segment. This is the part of the show where you get to be on the podcast. So here is a joke from my friend Summer.
Hi, my name is Summer, and here's my joke. Why does Cinderella no good at soccer? Because she always runs away from the ball.
That is so true. She always runs away from the ball. You have to really stay on the ball when you're playing soccer, don't you? Thank you, Summer, for sharing that. And I loved all the giggles at the end. If you'd like to be like Summer and share your favorite joke or a Bible verse or song or a fun quote from a book or a movie, just head over to my website, collidekidspodcast.com, and click the tab at the top that says Kids Only. Or you can find information about how to send it to me through social media. I'm on Facebook at the Collide Kids Podcast or on Instagram at Collide Kids Pod. And I would love for you to follow me there as well. If you'd like to support the podcast, there's a few ways you can do that. First, be sure to subscribe to this podcast and leave a rating and a review. When you do that, it really does help other people find out about the show. And I love getting to read what you guys think about the show. You can also share this episode with friends and family and tell them why you like to listen. Or you can go by my website and click the link at the top that says support. And anytime you think about it, I always appreciate your prayer support as well. Well, I hope you guys have an amazing week. I hope that you get some white pieces of paper and get some time to draw and doodle, or maybe put together some Legos, create something fun, and have a great time exploring all the talents and abilities God has put in your heart this week. In case no one has told you today, I would love to be the first to remind you that God loves you so very much. Thanks for listening.
You don't have to go very far looking for bad news because somehow it just finds you. So finding peace in the chaos can be really difficult, but it doesn't have to be because the River mobile app exists. The River is a Christian music radio station dedicated to playing music to help you get through life's toughest moments or life's happiest moments and everywhere in between. And all from artists who love Jesus and are real people just like you. Listening is easy. You can download it wherever you get apps from. Just search 1049 The River or listen online at riverradio.com. And know that The River is proud to partner with the Collide Kids podcast.